Hi, welcome to today's class. I wanted to talk to you today about hiring. One of the questions that I get a lot in my own practice is, okay, we've done this marketing and it's been successful and the firm's starting to grow, and I need to hire my first assistant, or I need to expand my already existing staff. And how should I do it? How should I go about it? And of course, it's a very broad subject, but I thought I'd give you the benefit of what I've learned. I employ right now somewhere around 15 people, and have had to do a lot of hiring over the years. And of course, I've worked with a lot of my clients on their law firm hiring. So I think I've learned a few things, and maybe have evolved a sort of philosophy which I thought I'd share with you in the hopes that it might be useful in finding your own employees. I think the first thing you have to do is realize that there's sort of two categories of employee. There are those who require some sort of specialized knowledge or special degree or special talent. So, for example, for a position of an associate attorney, you've got to hire somebody quite clearly who has a law degree and can be admitted to the bar. When I hire somebody who is going to be a graphic designer, I have to hire somebody who has knowledge of graphic design programs and some experience at that, and hopefully some talent as well. So that's one category of job. The other category of job is more general. That might be, say, hiring a administrative assistant or a receptionist or somebody of that ilk. And I don't think that job need be as specialized. That is, I don't believe that you have to hire somebody who worked in a law firm or anything like that. So one of the first principles that I have when I use when I hire is I hire for character and work ethic and attitude, and figure they can learn the rest. I remember reading a book by Stanley Marcus of Neiman Marcus, and he said their philosophy in hiring salespeople, for example, he said, we hire nice people and teach them sales. We can't teach them to be nice. That was their parents' job. And there's a lot of truth in that. One time I was flying somewhere, as I seemingly always am, and I was passing through the Atlanta airport. And no, actually I was, sorry about that quick cut. That'll teach me not to, or teach me to turn off my cell phone when I'm recording these classes. I was traveling to Atlanta one time, and I had to rent a car, and I took a shuttle bus to the rent-a-car lot. And it was a pretty lengthy ride, and I was sitting up front by the driver, who was this older African-American gentleman, and he was stopping and picking people up and getting their bags. He got out of the bus, get on the sidewalk, grab the bags, put them in the rack, and so on. And I started to chat with him about his job. And he started to brag to me, really, about his bus and his job. And he said his bus, he kept it immaculate. He cleaned it like you wouldn't believe, he said. And he always made a point to help people with their bags and so on. And he bragged to me how regulars at the airport would let other shuttle buses go by and wait for his bus to take it. And as he was talking, I was thinking to myself, I'd hire this guy to do anything, because he's going to do any job that I give him the way he does this job. He's going to be great at it. And that's kind of the attitude that I have when I'm hiring employees to work with me. I try to find people who have that kind of character and that kind of work ethic, and hire them And then anything specific they need to learn about this particular job, they can learn on the job. In fact, it can be sometimes counterproductive to hire somebody who already has a bunch of experience in your particular field. If you hire somebody who comes from another law firm, you risk the idea that they're going to come in with a set of ideas about this is how it should be done, this is the way we used to do it at the other place where I was before, instead of being able to train them in your way of doing things. So there's some payoff to experience, but there are some drawbacks as well. So I'm looking first for character and ethic and attitude and those kinds of things, and then I'll let them learn marketing. I can teach them marketing. They'll learn marketing by being around here. So one of the tips I have for you is when it comes to those kind of general jobs, admin jobs, receptionist jobs, those kind of support staff, look for people in your daily business life who show the kinds of qualities that you like and hire them away. Let me give you an example. You go to the bank, and every day when you go to the bank, there's this one teller who always greets you with a smile, always executes exactly what you ask him or her to do, bing, 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 in that fashion, efficient, cheerful fashion, always bids you goodbye, has maybe handled a couple of problems that you've had and eased them out and done them great, and you grow to admire the way that that person does their job. And I'd rather hire that person, I'd rather hire that bank teller and let them learn marketing than to hire somebody from another marketing firm whose character and work ethic I don't know and haven't seen demonstrated. One of my clients has a great receptionist, and we can talk a little bit about the importance I have for that position, but she was the waitress who served my client and her husband every morning when they went to this particular place for breakfast, and they just thought she was dynamite at that job, and they hired her away to be the receptionist at their law firm, and she's been great at that job. So when you see somebody doing a great job at something, a lot of times it's a very good indication of how they'll work for you and how they'll work out for you as an employee. So I recommend that method. I think that job interviews are highly overrated. It's sort of an occasion like a first date where everybody presents the best version of themselves, and I often think it doesn't really tell you a whole lot. You get at least a chance to physically see the person and interact face to face, but beyond that I don't think it has a hell of a lot of value. My next marketing tip is this, that you've got to understand the job that you're hiring somebody to do. Returning for a moment to that receptionist position, my view of that job is that it may be the second most important job in a firm, because for most of the people who call your firm, that person, the receptionist, is the firm. I've heard the position described as director of first impressions. That's a really, really key position. But how do most people hire for it? They put an ad in the paper that says, need somebody who can type and file and does Microsoft Word and, oh, by the way, pick up the phone when it rings. And usually they don't pay anything for that position. And they get people who, chew gum and do all kinds of other things that you don't want them to do and don't really understand what's required in that position. I would suggest that for that position, the main qualification is, the ability to warm every phone call, to have a smile in their voice, to be efficient in helping people who call up. And a lot of times that particular personality, and we'll talk more about personality in a minute, is entirely the opposite of a kind of personality that would be great at filing and organizing and cranking down on little details. So know what the job is and know what kind of person that you want in the job. And I think one of the key things you have to know when you hire is you have to know who you are. You have to know what your strengths are and what areas are not your strengths. And oftentimes what you're hiring for is to compensate for the things that are not your strengths. Well, how do you find that out? You go to Kolbe, KOLBE.com, and you take a test called the Kolbe A Index. And the Kolbe A Index costs, I think, $50, $49. You can take it online, and it asks you a bunch of questions about your work style that have no right or wrong answers. For example, the question might be, there's a new product. My first instinct is to A, sell it, B, build it, C, trademark it. These kinds of questions. So there's no right or wrong answer to that, but it tells you something about what your own skills and your own proclivities are. Now, it divides the results of this questioning into 4 categories. One is called Quick Start. The second one is called Fact Finder. The third is called Implementer. The fourth is called Follow Through. Each one is assigned a color and a barcode 1 to 10. So if you look at the results of my test, they'll say on a Quick Start scale, I'm a 9 out of 10. And a Quick Start is an entrepreneur type who has a whole lot of ideas